Learning and Eating Forum in Dublin, I think at Christmas 2015. This is Professor Joseph O'Connor, who was giving the keynote. I was in the audience for this talk, and his teaching style is completely different from mine. But I found it a really, really powerful lecture that he gave. And in it, he's talking about his 10 greatest teachers, which range from the streets of Dublin through to poets to books and pop albums and things. So I put the link to it on the virtual learning environment for you. And I would recommend you, if you have 45 minutes, or you certainly listen to it in the background. It's quite interesting. I'm just going to show you the first few minutes of it. So hopefully, I've put the subtitles, and I'm not sure whether some parts of his Irish accent is quite strong. So he is a professor at the University of Limerick in creative writing, also a famous novelist, and brother to Sinead O'Connor. So I think you'll pick up in the kind of the lyrical way that he speaks, and that comes across.
I was having breakfast with my 10-year-old son Marcus this morning, and asked him what was he going to do at school today, and he's working on his end-of-term history project. So I said, "What's that about?" And he said, "It's great. It's about your least favourite person in history." And in his case, he told me it's a man called Harun al-Rashid, who was a potentate from Arabia in the 9th century. So I said, why is he your least favourite person in history? And he said, because he invented school. So he won't be attending the Summit on Teaching and Learning, though perhaps he should. Learnian is an Old English verb that means to learn, and it also means to show or to walk. And I'm interested in this conception of learning as walking and taking a stroll around knowledge. My mother and father were born in Francis Street in the Dublin Liberties, a 5-minute walk from where we're meeting today. In my boyhood, I had relatives living there, as indeed I still do. So for a suburban child, I spent a great deal of time walking the city of Dublin. And I think of the city in a way as my first teacher, because it taught me that learning is also seeing, a way of looking again at the world. And in that Dublin of my childhood, it seemed that you were living in a compendium of stories, a kind of anthology, a tarot pack of narratives. You walked the streets of Yeats and Pearse, Brendan Behan and Philip Lynott, bold Robert Emmet, the darling of Erin, and Joyce and O'Casey and Zosimus and Beckett, Patrick Kavanagh, Bob Geldof, Lady Gregory. And as a young person, that's how I felt, that all of these storytellers were my neighbours, each of them attempting to teach me something, and each of them attempting versions of perhaps the same thing. Taken, perhaps, on a school trip to visit Kilmainham Jail, you would be given few facts, or at least few you would remember, but you'd come away enthralled by the story of Joseph Mary Plunkett, who had married Grace Gifford before his execution. If you went to see the band The Virgin Prunes, you would hear lyrics written by Oscar Wilde, now screamed with the punk fury of the era. Philip Chevron's band The Radiators from Space had been saturated in the city's literary traditions, with song titles like Faithful Departed and Kitty Ricketts. It was as though James Joyce had discovered a Fender Telecaster in some foul rag and bone shop on the Quays. No other city in the world had rock music like this, if rock music isn't too narrowing a label. But then, the street songs and ballads of the city had always been short stories, touching, scabrous, satirical, tender, as alive to the stench of the eddying Liffey as to the possibilities of truth and beauty. This world of songs taught of tough survivors, jacks of all trades, wide boys, fishwives and chancers, who had far more in common with the braggadocio of the Chicago blues than with the tweedy jollities of sanitised Irish folk music. Our history itself was taught in ballad form, which is to say that it was told as a set of carefully worked fictions. Chaucer never invented darker characters. Father John Holly, the old priest who taught me English for the Intercert in 1979, the greatest real-life teacher I've ever had once seen Maud Gonne crossing O'Connell Bridge. When we came to Yeats's line that she had beauty like a tightened bow, he paused and looked down at us with immense seriousness and gravitas before saying, "I saw her, boys, and Yeats was right."
Okay, it goes on like that. He talks about, as I said, his 10 grades. So the first one is the streets of Dublin. The second one he starts to talk about then is an actual proper teacher there from the schoolboy days. Beautiful, well, to my ears, beautiful kind of lyrical teaching style. And I mean, I can just sit and listen to that. You can tell that he's a poet, you can tell that he's a storyteller. But that is an incredibly distinctive teaching style, which I don't think many of us could emulate. I mean, I certainly couldn't. But I think there's aspects of that you can capture in your own teaching, that idea of the narrative and the storytelling, and embedding that into your teaching. I would really recommend that, as I say, if you have a little bit of time to think, to have a look through that, or listen to that, I should say. Okay, so teachers in our popular cultures and in our media are kind of incredibly prevalent, from types of, from Yoda, the Kung Fu Kid, Dead Poets Society, all these different movies all have different styles of teaching in them. Does anybody want to share anything that they think about the best teacher that they've just shared or they've just heard from their colleague, in terms of the style of the teaching? What was it about the teaching style that made them one of your greatest teachers? Does anybody want to share anything that they had? Oh, I've heard. Or maybe you didn't have that conversation, you were just eating cookies. So what about these teachers in these movies? Anybody want to comment on the teaching style in any of those movies? Maybe I picked the wrong movies. Yeah?
I would like to talk about my experience, my teacher. When I was in the School of Architecture in Middle East Technical University in the first year, I had a teacher. He was quite an identity. He was an idiosyncratic man, I may say. He had a personality. I mean, from his shoes to the cigarette he smokes, the way he wears, the way he walks, the way he talks, and everything. He was a real identity, and was a very strong man. And in the design course, in one of the classes, it was about the fundamentals of the design, that was. And each day, 3 times per week, we had 4 hours per day to make design assignments, to design something. So they generally come to the design studio and assign something to us, a very small design exercise, and then they go and let us do our own work. And one day he came with his colleague, and then they gave us an assignment. They said that do this, for example, by using a news sheet, make something, make a rice, for example. And that was quite strange to us, quite shocking. We couldn't understand. And can you imagine after the high school, after that years of such a conventional education, I may say, architectural school is quite shocking because it's a different type of education. So that was quite one of the shocking days for us. And we tried for 4 hours, and at the end they came to the class and checked what is done, and asked why did you do this? Ask another student, why did you do that? And we tried to explain, but nobody was happy what they did and things like that. And at the end, he stopped and then said, why are you doing everything that you are asked to do? Why don't you question what are said or what are given to you? You should always have a critical. That day, that was very
very
important.
Yeah.
We should have a critical mind and see everything around us with that critical mind. So he was really. That was quite a...
So changed your thinking.
Changed my thinking. So
that's great. I kind of just want to kind of think about some kind of iconic teaching styles. So you've given us a lovely example there of a very idiosyncratic teacher, kind of a teacher that kind of challenges you and perhaps tries to get you out of your comfort zone. Anybody familiar with the Star Wars movies who want to volunteer? Okay, thank you. So what kind of teaching of the style does Yoda have then?
Just like
human.
not rules, maybe leave the force to teach.
Okay.
So some basic primary duties that you do not like, but for your improvement you need to carry them out.
Yeah, and so those of you that are not familiar with the film, in the whole early part of the film, the child is doing a whole lot of tasks, and you can't see how they're relating to his overall goal of being able to kind of beat everybody up or whatever it was. But it was, and the teacher didn't even explain to him why he was doing these things, did he? It was just like, right, just, I am source of all wisdom, and if you do what I say, you eventually will succeed. But there was no learner autonomy, or but it's very much yes, as you say, the master and servant. Okay, Dead Poets Society. Is anybody familiar with this movie? So do you want to share what type of teacher Robin Williams plays?
Dead Poets.
Huh?
Remember the details.
Okay.
He left his students to discover things, to visualize things.
We can see it.
Okay. So I don't remember the details, but
So do you want to
he let
share?
the students to visualize things, to discover things, to
It's just really opening their minds, wasn't it?
open
Yeah.
their
Yeah,
minds.
sure.
He was trying to know his students beyond the time that they spend in class. He was trying to get into their personalities, the personal differences, and try to be friendly, having a friendly relationship with them, like their friends. So
In that film, there is a scene, I never forget that scene. He just stands as a literature teacher. Of course, his teaching style should be transformative because just analyzing a poem or a piece of literature is nothing. Later on, the students should approach life poetically, or, a literature teacher actually should give the student a habit of life maybe, or a way of thinking. And there in the film, he stands on the table and he says to the students, now look, when I look at you from here, my perspective is different. I see you're this side and that side. I can see your head, but I can't see your feet and arms. But when I go down and when I look at you this time, I can see your different parts. So he is in a very different way trying to show them different points of view in life, different perspectives in life. And then he connects this with different approaches to literature. How can you read and analyze a piece of poem? Everybody can interpret a poem from different perspectives, and this is a beautiful teaching style, I think. He starts with a very, very common umbrella concept, and then he relates it to poetry. This is what I like. Of course, when I watched this film, I was then a student, but he was my yes, role model.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Yes.
I have an image in my mind, a best teacher, and also there are one or two or three examples, and they have their characteristic was like that. Some people see the real you, and those teachers see the real you, the other side of the student. And in that poet society, this film, there was that point that he tries to see the real characteristics or their real personality, and he helps them also to see their real selves.
And I think
And it is
sorry,
very hard. I can't do, for example, how do they do it? I don't know.
I think it's just in the movies. Okay, and I think that raises another point. Is anybody familiar with? We just have one more kind of image of a film. Is the School of Rock? Does anyone know that movie?
It's very nice movie.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
So what style of teacher was Jack Black in the School of Rock? So is everybody familiar with the School of Rock movie? So just the scenario, basically, he kind of, Jack Black character goes to this very posh school and pretends that he's the teacher. But instead of teaching the class, he kind of just teaches them all about rock because he doesn't know anything about what they should be learning. But it's exactly that same point there. At the end of it, he kind of really gets to know his pupils and their kind of their strengths and their weaknesses and their characteristics, rather than just the kind of surface of what they look like. So, we see a lot of teachers' imagery in our popular culture. Folks, please, thank you. What I want you to do now is to think about, we had Joseph talking about one. I want to think about, just before we move on to the last sort of task of the afternoon, what factors impact your teaching style? So we've looked at lots of different styles there. And we've talked about some different styles, different approaches. Anybody want to think about what factors, maybe actually just spend a couple of minutes in your group thinking about what factors impact on the teaching style that perhaps you adopt on any kind of day-to-day basis? Because I think what we get to here is that, like learning styles that we looked at yesterday, our teaching style has to adapt, doesn't it? So what sort of factors would affect the teaching style that you were going to adopt? I'm just going to give you like 2 or 3 minutes and just have a very quick brainstorm.